Hey everyone, I'm Tanya. Welcome back to Black Women Read, reviews of books, zines, and everything in between. Last week, iconic actress Diahann Carroll passed away. She was 84 years old. While I was saddened to hear of her death, I'm glad she was able to live such a long life. Carroll made history in the 60s as the first black woman to lead a television series where she was not playing a maid. For those of you old enough to remember when you had to turn a dial on a TV, of course you will never forget Carroll's fiery portrayal of Dominique Devereaux on the popular 80s show Dynasty. Besides her brilliant performances, Carroll was a fashion trendsetter. Her style was sleek and sophisticated, her hair perfectly coiffed, her makeup beat to the gods. If Whitney Houston was our 80s songstress Black Barbie, Carroll was our 80s actress Black Barbie. She'd come with a fabulous set of clothes, to die for her heels, and a designer handbag. You would put her in a pink Mercedes Benz and zoom her off with her head tilted slightly, a small smirk on her face. It's rather interesting that I recently finished Tanisha C Ford's Dressed in Dreams, a black girl's love letter to fashion, as Miss Carroll has her homegoing. Ford's book explores black girl aesthetics, particularly in the 80s, 90s, and the impact of black girl fashion on mainstream culture during that time. A couple of months before the release of Ford's book, I read the article Black Girls from the Hood Are the Real Trendsetters by writer Juana Thompson. Thompson outlines the ways working poor, ghetto black girl styles tend to be co-opted and celebrated by mainstream culture, while they themselves are disparaged for wearing such looks. Thompson writes about growing up in the projects and witnessing all the creative ways the black women in her life, Hood, express themselves via their clothes, makeup, and hairstyles. She shared how she come to recognize the ways mainstream culture commodified these looks while not giving credit to poor black women. Thompson notes nameplate jewelry, nail art, and colorful synthetic wigs has cemented itself into pop culture without our identities being portrayed positively and certainly without reparations. A quick YouTube search reveals pages upon pages of women offering tutorials on how to achieve the following look in an effort to capitalize on the ghetto's livelihood. Cheap clothing, risque poses, most notably the hood squat, and an increased use of slang is often used to appeal to viewers and is almost always met with praise, while black girls who reside in the ghetto are often met with resistance from the very women who emulate them. In so many words, the ghetto has been repackaged and curated to appeal to the masses, whilst replacing black films and dark-skinned women with those who look racially ambiguous. Thompson goes on to write, oftentimes the show-stopping hairstyles and outfits that are celebrated in the hood are seen as violations in the eyes of principals, employers, and like-minded individuals who have suspended or isolated black girls for rightfully expressing themselves. On the flip side, it is seen as editorial or high fashion and renamed something more palatable when women from privileged backgrounds get a hold of them. Ford expounds on these observations made by Thompson in Dressed in Dreams via her own life experiences while growing up in the Midwest. In each chapter, Ford details a specific fashion that played a significant role as she was finding herself as a young woman. I related to most of the styles Ford writes about, in particular, rocking the Jerry curl, flossing a leather jacket, and waiting in baggy jeans. I found myself cracking up several times during Ford's book as I went down my own memory lane. I connected to her story of thinking the answer to the greasy jerry curl was the wave nouveau. I could almost smell the chemicals creeping up my nose. The wave nouveau was deemed a better alternative to the jerry curl because one would not have to use as much activator on it. It was considered a shake and go style. Ford, like myself, soon found out that wasn't true. And the hope of hair freedom that was the goal of many black girls at the time would not be found in the wave nouveau. In this passage, Ford details returning to the fourth grade with her new hairdo and how it let her down. She writes, "But by the time we hit afternoon recess, my hair had grown weary of the battle. My activator quit on me. My wet and wavy look was now parched and poofy. And here was the real horror of the thing. I had no activator with me. And then, ooh, your curl is dry," in a voice like a whisper, as if to simulate a parched throat. That was it. They had me. I was surrounded by black boys from all four of the fourth grade classes in an uproar of laughter. Jerry Carroll, but where's the juice?" In the chapter on leather jackets, Ford talks about her first time going to Wilson's leather store. It reminded me of the days when me and my best friend shopped at Wilson's. When I think about it, how in the world was I affording leather coats? I'm guessing my parents gave me money? But it was important to have at least one leather jacket in your closet back in the 90s. Ford writes about the day her mother let her get her own leather jacket. I browsed, rack by rack, feeling and inhaling the rainbow of leather dreams. Finally, I found the one. It had a navy leather body with orange leather sleeves and a white leather hood. The lining was navy and white stripes. A zipper went down the front, and the bottom was wide. It was super sporty, modeled after a windbreaker jacket. Mom's generation had made colored leather a thing in the early 80s. By the late 80s and early 90s, my hip-hop generation was making multicolored leather a thing. As Ford highlights in her book, the tomboy look was popular with black girls during this time. In order to pull off this style, it was important to have a couple of pair of baggy jeans. I remember wearing huge jeans with a polka dot shirt. Rock the polka dots. Shout out to Kwame. And shiny leather patent shoes with fat shoelaces. Ford writes about how the baggy jeans fashion became symbolic for a lot of things she was going through at that time in her life. She had just transferred to a boarding school and for the first time became self-aware of her black girl aesthetics while navigating a mostly elite white campus. She states, "One of the biggest struggles for kids like me coming straight out of our communities and into the yuppie and training world of elite boarding schools is that nothing you've experienced up to that point can prepare you for entering that space. You bring all of your stuff, your clothes and your culture and your emotional baggage from home. You wear it like a comfort blanket. The space wants to yank it away, expose you, shame you, and then redress you in the clothes it deems fit." Dressed in Dreams was an excellent read from start to finish. I definitely recommend it to those who grew up in the 80s and 90s. There are so many gems in the book that will make you go, "Yeah, I remember that," with a chuckle, as I did when Ford talked about getting AOL disc in the mail. Those things used to be out of control. More importantly, Ford, like Thompson, articulates the ways black women folks have always been central to what trends take off in the dominant culture. That if it were not for ghetto girls, mainstream America style would be flavorless. You know they always need a little seasoning. Thank you for listening, and I will see you at the next video.